not only are the featured performers amazing individuals that I know, that I have the pleasure of knowing personally, but people whose voices I think we need to hear right now. So we're going to go ahead and kick off tonight with our first performer, Kay Henderson.
I'm excited to be here in my room. I'm just going to play 2 songs, and I'm going to mess up, and it's going to be fine because it's open mic night, and they're new, so... So that was one song. It doesn't have a title yet. Thanks. The next song is called, the title's borrowed from the end of a poem by Rachel Rabbit White called Our Lady of the Camellias, and it's called I Would Rather Die Than Work. Whew. We live to endangered fools against the master's tools. May I never be of use. Today may I refuse my hands and still the word my worth demands. May I never work again. That's all.
Just wanted to hop on and share a poem I had. I wrote this actually this week, inspired by the Blacks, like all the different events through CAP with Harriet Mullen and Dion Brand. Their one was inspired by this. So yeah, it's just called The Resistance of Demolished Skin. Still a work in progress, but if I had $1 for every timeless poem stuffed to the brim with Black injustice, dying breaths, and anger that sparks a new flame all the same, I still wouldn't be able to bust out those with bail, thrown into jail for protesting with a song as old as time. How many times do I have to endure this burden of skin? Not quite a burden, for Black is love, Black is joy, Black is soul, Black is small but certain happiness, Black is Black. But the scars beneath, conceived from the hearts of those who can't take no more, died on a pillar of luck, constantly being infused with cracks that align with a lack of humanity authorities enact, and we don't always agree on the definition of what it means to be free. I wish we could for once see outside of this wish to resurrect the undoing of melanin. We are constantly being undone by violence. For how would we be able to push through such tragedy if not by clinging to the beauty built on slavery, built on our own necks, built on our Black voice, sacrificed at the light by those who chose not to use their eyes? We can no longer hold the blame and pain for this world's lamented gain. We must push through another day that will no doubt remain the same, drenched in names they toss aside to be forgotten, unfazed. This tale as old as time will no longer rhyme with the chains they place on our graves, barely born and encased, carrying the weight of this fate revolutionized through time itself. We rise unruly and oppressed all the same, a kink in this AfroTurf of land. We sink slowly into the atomic caverns they bombed. They think we don't know the difference of quicksand in the desert, but they seem to forget we have all been sewed into the same seams. This plurality of life cannot go on any longer. I refuse to be submerged into this reality we try to rewrite over and over and over and again.
If you look above me, there's a link. My uncle, he's a Black Panther, and he is currently in jail, in prison for something that he did not commit. He has the only child to Assata Shakur, if you know the history of Black Panthers. But pay attention to that link. I'm going to share with you something different. I do have a poem out there called Free Kamau. Check it out if you can. But today I want to love on us Black women tonight, if that's okay. So a reflection to a little Black girl in plain sight. You couldn't tell me that I didn't matter. Huh? Who, me? With the confidence of Fleur Lee and the swagger of my aunties and the brilliance of my mommy? The problem was society and the deep hate for my beauty and me trying to figure out why they couldn't see what was undeniably clear. At the age of 5, I would throw a towel on my head to mimic my ivory skinned friend next door to me and swing my head from side to side like Tammy did with her brunette satin hair. One day I told my mother, I said, I'm going to have hair all the way down to my feet. And when she brought home that box of Just For Me, I knew this was the day that I was going to run next door and show Tammy my curly locks were now hitting the soles of my sneakers. In my mind, we were going to run up and down the hill in the backyard with our hair blowing in the breeze. I envisioned tripping on mine and shaking the residue from the dirt and grass off of the ends. Honestly, as I recall, I think I kept tripping over and over again as I daydreamed about having hair like Rapunzel. This constant action of falling with this hair wrapped around my feet could have been reality saying, pick another dream because this one is unlikely. Well, not that I wouldn't have hair down to my feet, but the texture I was coveting would not be. So it was never me being angry at me, but it was me trying to find where my beauty fit in a society that for centuries declared anyone that looked like me, had hips like me, lips like me, and any attributes of the queen stolen from Africa, unfit for their so-called standards. But my young self didn't understand that this had absolutely nothing to do with me. And all of this twisted thinking was born way before my mother carried me in her womb. It had everything to do with the dysfunctional country I lived in. Like I remember being a bit bewildered about how y'all gonna hate on all this golden goodness. And the red undertone when my color changed to a darker shade of brown was everything in the summer months. There were a number of key Black women in my life who helped to generate and preserve this self-love and pride I had in myself as an African-American girl. My aunties from New York would see me and say, girl, look at your high cheekbones, baby. Your almond eyes look just like mine. You are so beautiful, niece. They would fuss over me and my sis so much, you would have thought we were kin to Queen Sheba. Summers with them were all about taking care of our hair and hooking us up with the most show-stopping, head-turning hairstyles. I remember hair designs that mesmerized the eyes and long extensions in the 80s were not common at all where we lived. Listen, you could not tell me that I wasn't beautiful with my braided crown. Match that with the wisdom of my mother's sisters who constantly reminded me of who I was and where I came from. They instilled in me to stand strong and don't take no stuff from any hater because I was especially made by the Creator to thrive in every situation. Black women are resilient, and as a young girl, I walked with thunder with my small fist drawn up at my side, ready to challenge anyone who would say I was anything otherwise. Even when I wanted to hold my head down, the posture of these mountain moving women would not allow it to be possible. Giving in and throwing in the towel was not an option or a conversation, and it wasn't because we were in denial, but failure just isn't and wasn't in our DNA. Now that I reflect, I do remember feeling a little sad. Not because I did not believe in what my mother, my grandmothers, and my aunties had instilled in me about how gorgeous we were as Black women, but because many were blind to it. What a shame to miss out on beholding a splendid creation. The reason for this blog that I wrote is to say to my young self and to anyone listening that you were and always are absolutely right to smile in the mirror and gaze with admiration. You are and were totally correct to admire the skin tone that you inherited, like mine from my grandmother, Flor Lee, the high cheekbones from my grandma Hattie, the nose and smile of my mother, along with the eyes of my father. You and I, we are Black and will always be beautiful. Thank you.
Hi, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Appreciate it. So I'm Isaiah. I'm a second-year PhD student in civil and environmental engineering here at Pitt. And I got two poems for y'all today. So the first one it's entitled "The Prophet Says," and it was inspired by Miss Aisha Jocko and her piece Aisha Says off of Lupe Fiasco's Food and Liquor 2. So I wrote this at the beginning of the year, and I'm gonna update it, but I haven't gotten around to it yet. Trump, travel bans, Syrian airstrikes, Comey, Paris climate, intercontinental missiles, opioid crisis, Charlottesville, DACA, sitting for the anthem, police acquittals, sexual misconduct, net neutrality, and North Korea created top headlines in 2017. Be banners that ignite and evoke emotions out of us, be it excitement or agony, joy or rage, surprise or fear, hatred or pride in the middle of nowhere, Iowa, or in the middle of protesting in Minnesota, where racial profiling, demented thoughts, and corruptions still occupy the blocks, and police demolish the preeminent oath, protecting themselves and serving out pain in the form of power that purposely pushes us to the pits of pessimism, no longer patiently waiting for a pause and the poison-pointed policies in place to pluck hard-earned pennies from poor people, all to give it back to perverted, possessive politicians who spew packets of polluted prerequisites that prescribe prevention principles that precipitate political chaos among prominent, proficient, powerful African-American people. People who plot, prepare, and postulate counters to the practices of prejudice, preferences, poisonous premises, and polished piles of shit that smell up the place, preventing us from prevailing and persisting in a place where air passages are privatized property of the pompous president for his personal agendas. I mean, putting his way to putting out posters about a wall, using his little blue birdie to publicize pestiferous comments about all opponents and pointing the finger when he doesn't get his way, like the parasitic, passive-aggressive, perverted, pedestrian, pejorative, perverse, predatory, pretentious, preposterous person that he is. Sheesh. I apologize for the paraphrastic phrasing. It's been about 2.5 years since I've seriously written. So as you can imagine, I've had quite a bit to say. So back to the point. America today is a lion's pit, and we the prey. Like sheep, they try to persuade the people to partake in their poisonous potions to feed their pitiful motions. Their spiteful devotions, preaching their selfish notions, they corner us sin, but we jump out of the grass like our ancestors did when they jumped in them oceans, refusing to be pricked by their poisonous needles. And with this, we ignite today's youth, our torches. We have hope burning from our hands, combating the infamous system, sticking our power to the man in the name of freedom. Trump, travel bans, wildfires, McConnell, Navigable Waters Act, nuclear sanctions, coronavirus, Wuhan, border walls, burning flags, police rehires, anti-trans bills, impeachment trials, and election circuses created the top headlines in 2020. And it's only January. Y'all better get ready for one hell of a year. So that's the first one. Thank y'all. Okay, so the second one, like I said, I'm an engineer. It's called Push, and so it's a little bit sciencey, but hopefully y'all can get a little bit of insight into what it's like being a Black engineer, what it feels like sometimes, right? So before I start, can Can anybody tell me what Newton's second law is? Yeah,
Force equals mass times acceleration.
Force equals mass times acceleration. That's absolutely correct. So force equals mass times acceleration. And if you multiply that by the time it takes for you to control your impulsive desires, and hopefully you'll be able to think for a moment. Sir Isaac, I have some questions. Did you feel that mass fall from the tree? Did you feel Lucifer fall from heaven? Did you calculate the change in his velocity? Did you integrate that to find your personal position with God with respect to time or hours? Because as Lucifer fell, so did we, for this is the plight of our humanity, also known as the conservative force of gravity. I mean, push me to the edge, engineering has me dead. Push me to the edge, engineering has me dead and tired. Ready to take the little Uzi and go to a vertical position and increase my potential to paradoxically increase the kinetic energy of my heart, change it from a solid to a deep red liquid to a gas that constantly travels against gravity. That's funny, right? Let's push. I ain't gonna sit here in front. I mean, being a Black engineer, it's hard. And unfortunately, it cannot be measured by Brunel's hardness number, although that we like to think that we are steel because we are tough. You know, our foundations, they're rigid, our atoms, they're tightly packed like our ancestors were on those slave ships, and our very essence is an alloy of the torment and pain that we've endured as a people for the last 400 years, give or take a few. Ultimately, what I'm trying to say is that understanding the difficulty of being a Black engineer is something on the orders of quantum mechanics. I mean, it's strenuous, yet it's easily dismissible to an unprepared mind. Let's push even further. And I could continue on and on about how difficult the Black engineering experience is, but I'm not one to complain. However, I will take a second and express to you my disdain. To realize your Blackness, to realize your color is a realization of pain, especially when our blank counterparts consider it a game and they add resistance to our circuits with comments like we are not one and the same, dissipating our power constantly, leading us down a path of despair. Let's push again. However, I think Claudia Rankine, outstanding poet, essayist, playwright, said it best. I have so much power. It is insane, and not to be disrespectful, but I'm gonna have to flip that script because we have so much power. Quit playing with us. This is not a game. Our meaningful work over time is done to increase the numbers, to stay too hyped, to engage our communities, academically excel, succeed professionally, reach your goals, ring the bell, secure the bag, make the money move, live your life and be well. I started off with Newton's second law, and I'd like to bring it full circle and in there too. Just remember when you're feeling down and out, that your force in this world is dependent on two things: your God-given mass multiplied by your acceleration to do positive things in this world. Thank you. Appreciate it.
I got a couple poems that I want to share with y'all. And yeah, the first one is called Inverted Survival Technique. We do not call the police when help is needed. We do not take our pregnant women to maternity wards during labor. We do not enter prisons to save our brothers. We never come out. We do not apply for counseling when mind and marriage break. We only leave our homes for the court or with Sunday's best or when the club goes up. We do not send our children to prestigious schools. We do not talk about our problems much. We do not speak in proper white vernacular in this white society. We do not forget to build economically and socially bilingual children in business actions. We riot in song and pinch strokes and piano keys and side hustle. We do not break and rob their children. We do not rape and mutilate and mold it into children's books for cozy history lessons. We do not post pics of our girlfriends during mass genocide. We do not teach our sons they are most likely to die early. We do not teach our daughters they are most likely to disappear. We do not protest because we are bored and stupid. We are not sedentary when our children get accepted to college. We do not celebrate America's most American holidays. We do not bury our dead in casket services, but in hashtags and media posts and news coverage. This is how we survive history. The second poem is called I Am Blackness in Anime Subs. For all the nerdy people up in here, I hope you appreciate this one. My skin ain't a weapon, but I might just let this bullet fly, let them feel the rocket power, put them on skates, ride the wave. My skin is bomb. I might just let the countdown run up the clock, set off the fission with precision. Excellence prefers timeliness. My skin is the ultimate X gene, drawn in the astral in comic page splash scenery, brought to life in the most extraordinary fashion. It is Huey and Katara chilling in the Avatar state. T'Challa and Zuri dripped up in rose gold and obsidian chains, tanks, plates, and bold watch faces. Usopp with the fro out, fist up, One Piece in hand, acting blickety black on the high seas. Penny Prowse, Susie Carmichael, and Craig Williams turned in the creek to a Panther clubhouse, complete with state-of-the-art Southern barbecue, chitlins, ginger ale, and spades. My skin ain't a weapon, but God knows it's deadly yet heavenly. In fact, God sent, so God told me to tell you in scope to shoot straight. You can't put out the fire. My skin is art. It sounds off with a bang. And this one's actually called The Last Hours of May. How could I possibly love you fully when it skips beats, jumps, and quits every channel flick? All my dad yells about at the dinner table is how our people are dying. George Floyd was murdered the other day, and I've been struggling to inhale ever since. I didn't give any revelation about you and I. I've been so deep in my head. My sister says I should wait, that you're good for me. My dad told me I should wait. My brother said I should heal, that too much has transpired this year. My heart is screaming about how I'm settling, that you are good, not right, that I'm sick, tired of warring to devote time to love, of living in a state of ticking Molotov. I've been a time bomb lately. Today is Sunday, and I barely woke up. I rarely looked to the eyes I was leading. I could barely pray. Hardly listen to my dad preaching. Today is Sunday, and I can't breathe. As much as I remind this pen that God is my refuge in darkness, I halfway question how much I believe this. I can't even find quiet in my head. I've been hyperventilating this whole service. I haven't eaten anything. Someone's heart stopped pumping the other day. And recently I've been confused as to whose it was. How can I love you if my heart only has enough blood to keep me gasping? I'm receding to a safe place to find solace. I know that robs you of yours. I'm sorry. I just watched myself die on television. I know you've been watching. Please forgive me. Forgive my heart. We are only doing what we know, what we've been shown. And yeah, that's it. Yo, thank y'all for listening. And yeah.
Like all my poems are usually like super bubbly, but I guess with the current state of the world, I can't really write super bubbly poetry. So we'll see how this goes. I don't name like any of my poems because I'm dysfunctional. So here's the first one. I would give anything to possess the ability to become invisible, to walk the streets without a target on my back. I remember when I was discussing the state of the world with my friend, he turned to me and said, I'm not racist, but I don't actively advocate. What reason do I have to do that? I remember wishing that all I am was not this need for survival. It put into perspective the world we live in might be small, but we walk in different shoes. He wears the same pair of shoes every day out of choice, but Taquan wears the same pair of shoes every day out of necessity. When my friend told me that, I wanted to become small, take up less space, strip away my blackness from my body, descend it into the very ground my ancestors lay. I wish I had the privilege to not advocate. I wish I had the privilege to know there are injustices in the world, but not know the pain of experiencing them. I looked at my friend and rested my hand on his cheek and said, the reason you have to advocate is for me, for my children, for my family, for the future, for all the people who without allies don't have a voice. The oppressed cannot fight back alone. They need the help of others because alone they are ignored. Alone they are thought of as lesser. Alone they are nothing but everything all at once. When the protests started, I joined the cause. When the riots started, I exercised understanding. When the world tried to silence our voices, I learned to scream. I spoke in front of hundreds of people, but then I went home lost and feeling out of place. When you see people who look like you killed and then hear justifications, that does something to you mentally. The news was my enemy. My friends were my enemy. My racist town was my enemy. I couldn't handle it. I stopped advocating. I lost my voice. I didn't want it back. I couldn't look in the mirror for days. I was running away from my Blackness. I didn't want it. I didn't ask for this baggage. I watched as people I know hung Blue Lives Matter flags in their homes, on their cars, plastered them on their shirts. But then I watched as these things became a part of the very house I live in, and I snapped. I wanted to burn the entire house to the ground. RC become the very thug they label us as. I remember when I told my friend about this, she said, those are not the good white people. I remember I said, but I love them. They are my family, maybe not biologically, but they have to understand, right? They have to get it. How do I make them get it? Then I remember all the little moments, my head filled with the whispers. They deserved it, those thugs. He was high anyways. You should support the police and respect them. You're not like them. In that moment, I think I knew they wouldn't get it. I think I've always known. My Blackness is a part of who I am. I may not be comfortable in it all the time, but pretending I'm anything else is like wearing someone else's skin. I couldn't be a part of the movement when I didn't want my Blackness. I was a fraud, a liar, a fake. Black lives matter. My Black life matters. All Black lives matter. So that's the first one. I have two more, and they're very rough. I wrote them today. So I've been searching for a space to call home. This body unfamiliar. This body leaves me lonely. I've been walking in a sea of white, no choice but to notice the differences. Wanting to stand up, be loud, but that's what's expected. So I stand down, be quiet. Did you hear the big guy in the house said to stand down, but stand by? He can sit in the house of the nation safely while making people have to sit in their homes afraid, walk the streets afraid, simply to live afraid. How many generations have to grow up like this? You know, it's systematic. The over-policed areas, the poverty, the health issues, the prison system. Have you ever thought about how there are groups of people in America who had to rely on Supreme Court decisions to receive rights? Actually, have you ever thought about how there are groups of people in America who have to rely on Supreme Court decisions for rights? This isn't past tense, it's present tense. We march today for rights we should have always had. In the 60s, they marched for rights they should have always had. During the Civil War, they fought for freedom they should have always had. Isn't it weird how survival is in our DNA, threaded into the very existence of our being? When the world tries to strip us of our life force, we find a way to breathe. When the world tries to make us forget, there will always be people to say our name. You may kill us, steal our fathers, rape our women, but you cannot wipe away our existence. Even when you kill us, you cement us into history to forever be remembered. No matter how you choose to cover this up in the history books, there will be people who know the truth. We refuse to be erased. We refuse to be quiet. Fight or flight, survival mode, engaged. I have one more, and then I'm done. Today, I looked at my Black body in the mirror and thought, this girl is a queen. Today was my wash and go, which is never just a wash and go, and I thought, I have a lion mane of hair and I love it. I looked at all the scars on my body and chose to love myself anyway. I wrapped my arms around my body because I always got my own back. I'm finding ways to love all of my Blackness, which is hard in a society that tells you to be beautiful, I need to be the exact opposite of everything I am. A little lighter, a little shorter, blue eyes. But to try and be that is a lie. I want to be me, whatever that means. I want to love myself and be loved for all my Blackness. I am a Black sassy queen, and if you try to take my crown, then I guess we'll just have to see how that turns out for you. A queen doesn't go down quietly, but we all are queens trying to love our Blackness. We come in all shapes, sizes, and shades. Oh, what people you know do that other than Black queens? We sit on thrones made of the bodies of what society wants us to be. But to be a queen is to lead, and we will each lead the younger generation into a world where they always know that Black is beautiful, into a world where they always know Black is magic. We are magic, and our bodies cast the most seductive spells. Thank you.
It was so amazing to hear these words on a day such as this, at a time like this. It is so great to be grounded in Black voices and Black art, and it is great to be grounded in that with the people here. I want to make sure everybody has a good night and stay safe. Thank you so much for joining us. Make sure to follow the Center for Creativity to keep up with what we're doing and more open mics, and continue to share your art. Thank y'all so much, and have a great night.